All right, here we are. Welcome back to another episode of Directing Dread, and this is episode 7.
This is episode 7. Yes,
we made a mistake in the last episode. Yeah, so here we are. It's summer. I'm beaming in from the cottage this time. So this is my mobile podcasting setup. Hopefully, it looks and sounds okay compared to what we normally do. But yeah, so this episode we want to talk about the fact that you had your film premiere, your first feature film premiere as a world premiere, and I was there at the screening.
You were,
and it was amazing. That was I think that was one of the most ideal premieres you could ever expect for yourself as a filmmaker. Because
you think so?
I think so, because it was the only time that festival had ever sold out every single seat. And I don't know if it was a festival programmer or someone that worked at the theater, but somebody, I overheard them saying it had never happened before. So you had a sold out screening for your world premiere. Every seat was taken. And the energy in that room was incredible.
Well, that's good to hear. No, I felt really strong about that too. Again, it's funny. I've only been to one world premiere feature, and it happens to be mine. So if anything, you're going to still have more experience comparing other premieres to mine. So this is going to be great to hear kind of your perspective on this.
It was the energy in the room was incredible. There was so many enthusiastic people there, and I could see you had, a lot of your close friends and family were there to support you, which was nice. And I'm happy I waited to see your film on the big screen as opposed to watching a screener, because it was really great to actually watch it unfold in a theater. And that was a beautiful theater. And to watch it unfold was fun because it's a mystery thriller that amps up the tension throughout this story that unfolds, that leads up to a sick and demented sort of climax that I wasn't expecting at all. And
well, that's good.
It was great to experience it, in a theater.
And you know what? It was the first time we actually got to show it to a group of people where I could actually just listen to the reactions and actually gather what the audience was taking from the movie. Because it's since we finished it, it's literally been me showing maybe my dad, maybe me and Vrish watching it and showing the odd friend just to get some notes. But this was the first actual screening where I'm like, this is the final version. Here we go. And people kind of chuckled at the right moments. People winced at the right moments. And I've seen that movie so many times, I didn't know if I was going to stay in the theater the whole time. I was like, oh, I'll pull a Coppola and go in the bathroom and pace. And I'm not just saying this, and again, I have my own thoughts on everything, but there was a time where I was just so excited and just like, wow, we really kind of pulled it off. We made this movie, we brought everyone together, and it seemed to be very well received. And again, I don't have the experience of being at hundreds of other world premieres. I've been to a few, actually, but they're more short film premieres and stuff like that. And I don't know, I felt really lucky that the festival supported us so much, that the reception was so strong. And I don't know, it felt like the climax of my life so far. It felt like for 26 years, I've been building up to, hey, world, I can do this. And honestly, I was just so taken back by everyone that was there. I had an old film professor there, Jeff. I couldn't believe that. Seeing you there was amazing, honestly. My close friends and family, everyone on the film who worked there, the cast. And I don't know, as cheesy and gushy as this sounds, it really was a highlight of my life. That it's like when you have a kid. I mean, you have kids. I don't. This is my only kid. This feels like, oh my God, 2.5 years or 2 years of your life finally shown to people, and it didn't turn out like The Room, which that was my goal, was just get above that threshold, even though I love The Room. So,
It's funny that you say, it's like having a child, because it is like that, because you're incubating this thing for years and years and years, and then you finally release it to the world. And then, like a child, at some point, that thing takes on a life of its own.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes out into the world, and it's kind of no longer yours anymore. There's something weird about making a film and then releasing it, because once it's released, it's not really yours. It takes on a life of its own, and you can nurture it to release it a certain way. It's like a child. You can raise it and release it into the world, and you can do your best to try to make it the most healthy and the most exciting entity, and then it goes out, and then you have no control over how the world reacts to it or how it behaves out there, how it performs for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it hurts. It's like, you and I are we'll never give birth to children, but we can birth films, and we know what that experience. I know, from I've had a few of these where, man, I know that feeling of sitting there in the theater and your heart is just beating out of your chest. Let me ask you a question. Is this the first time you've seen your work in a theater like that? I mean, you've done shorts, and I'm assuming those have premiered.
Yeah, so we did Lure. Lure played at a few film festivals, so I got to see that on. We got into Blood in the Snow, Chicago, and Durham, and it played at the Roxy. So I've seen my work before on a big screen, particularly with Lure. But this was the first time where it was like, we're the main event. This is a full feature. It felt like, as much as I love shorts, this felt like just such a bigger thing. You know what I mean? But
yeah, because when you're premiering a short, you're in a program with other shorts, right? Or you're opening for a feature. So this is the first time that you've had your work be the show.
Yes,
and so
exactly,
the entire focus of the event is on your work. Yeah, that is a wild experience. I mean, I've always felt it's like, you know, it feels like that feeling can be very addictive. And it feels a bit like a drug because you get really high off of it, but then there's also a come down after it. It's like, it's a bit of a roller coaster. But like, you know, so that's your first big. I remember the first time I had work screening in a theater like that was a student film, and I'll never forget just the feeling like I was going to have a heart attack, like I was just going to die. My heart was going to jump out of my chest. And then, you know, over the years where I've had films in various festivals and programs, and a few features premiere in festivals, and I no longer feel that fear anymore. Now
you've controlled it.
Yeah, I don't feel the fear anymore because my attitude. I've tried to take on this very healthy attitude that regardless of what people think of my movie, like I don't care what people think as I'm premiering it.
Mm-hmm.
At least maybe I'm lying to myself, but I've convinced myself that I don't really care because there's nothing I can do about it. I've done the mix, I've done the color, I've directed the performances. Now it's premiering and there's nothing I can do. All I can do is sit back and absorb the reactions and take it as a learning experience. What was working? What's working? What isn't working? This is why test screenings are great. If you ever get a chance,
Yeah.
I don't know if you did test screenings with Chimera.
Only with friends and family and like people that I kind of knew, so I know it could have been slightly biased. And I always had the back of my mind but I would always preface this being like, look, I don't want good notes. Give me bad notes. What is not working? What is bad? But I would show it to my close friends, my close family, other people. Maybe I went to film school, people that I trust, kind of a thing. I tried to do it with you, but you were smart and you waited to the premiere. Because I would have given you full on homework essays, being like, what did you think about the But so we did do that in our own way, but it wasn't like the classic proper way where you get 50 unbiased people who don't know you. You know what I mean? So I did it my own way, but not to the full extent that you're probably referring to.
Yeah, because now when I have something premiering, like if a joke doesn't work or a scare doesn't land exactly how I want, I'm not heartbroken over it. I note it and go, oh, that's interesting. Okay. Because my attitude now is like, regardless of what's being presented in a premiere or some sort of screening, I'm trying to convince myself that I only really care emotionally about the next project that I haven't made yet, that I'm developing, or that I'm writing, or that I'm working on, because once that is in the theater, there's nothing it can do for you once it's been released. Mm-hmm. Creatively, there's nothing it can do for you. It can go on and get a sale, and it can lead to interesting business prospects, that sort of thing. But creatively, as a writer or something, there's nothing it can do for you. Except teach you some lessons while you're sitting in a packed room, because that's the best real feedback you're going to get. It's a warm room when you have friends and family there, but it's still a learning opportunity, and that's how I feel now going into premieres. But your premiere was incredible. Everyone reacted. It's one of those movies. Chimera is one of those movies where it's very suspenseful and tense, and it's dealing with a subject that's pretty dark. You've got these missing children, and it's a mystery, and so it's not like a comedy where you get laughs throughout the film, and it's not a horror film that's full of jump scares where you're forcing reaction from people. It's one of those movies where people are absorbing the story and they're quiet, right? Until there is jump scares, and there is
until the bomb goes off.
Yeah, yeah, and there is funny moments where people laugh that are great. But
those are more like little comments. They're just kind of like Teddy making a comment to the camera, just so it doesn't feel so bleak. Because I get it. It's basically, it is a pretty dark story, but I'm like, all right, Teddy, turn the camera around, make a little joke. Just have some levity, just so there's moments of like, oh, it's a real dude. That was my main thing, was trying to make Teddy feel like, oh, that could be you walking around trying to find this missing person, and wouldn't you naturally be doing your job, but you might have a funny thought. But I didn't want that to override the tone. That was the whole point, was I wanted this to feel exactly like you just described, this escalating, evolving mystery, until it kind of shifts into more a survival thriller horror, by the final act. But again, the first two acts, it's really just like Where is she?
So what was going through your mind? Like for people listening who are, hoping to have a world premiere someday in a big theater and at a big festival, like what was going through what was your experience watching your own movie in that format?
So after 2 years of working on this, it really felt like it felt like it was very earned. Of like we wrote this almost 2 years ago. We shot this 2024 of November. We've been editing ever since, and it's just been working on it. There's been almost no release, no catharsis of, wow, we did this. And so the screening really acted as to the whole team, to the whole cast and crew, everyone who worked with us for those weeks. It was, hey guys, we did something really cool, and this is kind of like reaping the benefits a little bit. And that's what I realized it's so important, because it's not just, hey, we made a film. It's like, you got to celebrate it a little bit, because it really is hard work. And I feel like some people forget to go, it's okay, whether you did the best or whatever, you still pulled it off regardless. And like, just kind of celebrate with the people that did that with you, because it really is a big feat to accomplish. And for a moment, I was just like, wow, like, it's been so long and we've worked so hard on this, like, for literally 2 years, that this is kind of warranted for everyone, not just me, but I meant for the cast and the crew and people that were working on this, like Vrish, for years with me, that I'm like, they need this. Congratulations, good job, show it to people, feel like that. And in one aspect, that's really great, and it's fantastic. But another aspect, just for me, I've seen Chimera so many times, and I'm proud of the film, and I have to preface this by saying that I'm proud of the film overall, and I really think for what it is, it's really good. But again, I know that there's mistakes throughout. I know that there's little things that I can't change. And when I was watching the film, it was weird, because it was like I wasn't just watching a story unfold, I was watching things I can't change. I was watching little mistakes that just drive me nuts, that I can't change, constantly on the biggest screen possible. So it was kind of funny. It's just like, hey, Jacob, look at your big fucking mistake. How'd you let that slide? And in my head, I'm like, oh my God, everyone's going to know I'm a fraud. How did you let that go? And then after, I was asking people these little things, no one, everyone, it was the classic thing of, that bothers me. This movie, I think, doesn't work because of that one little mistake. And nobody picked up on it. No one noticed the little thing in the background that drives me nuts, because I've seen it 1,000 times. So I think it's the classic artist tale of, you'll never be fully happy because you only see the things you want to improve. And that was very true for me. I was very much kind of nitpicking my own movie, and I could criticize. I feel like I was going to turn into Robert Eggers on The Witch commentary, if you ever heard him do that. Man, he's funny. He just rips his own movie a new one, and which is hilarious because it's The Witch. Which is ridiculously cool. But no, like, I think...
Well, listen, think of it like every director feels that way when you make a movie. It's like you have this vision for something that you want to, that's going to take shape, and your vision is like if you're sculpting, it's like you have this vision of like a beautiful stallion sculpture, and then you get this mold of clay with your actors and your script, and you're going to form this thing through a process, and at the end it's like it's not a horse, it's a bear or something. You're like, it's not exactly what I had in mind, because the process has changed the form of this thing, but it's an awesome bear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, for example, like, I guess my bear is there, do you know the RV scene where Teddy's going to he finds the RV at the cottage, and he's going to go into it, and then Desmond confronts him, and they have that what's going on here? So in that sequence of Desmond confronting Teddy, in the background, way in the background, it's so small, it's so minute, there's a little sign, and I know what the sign is. It's like a little piece of green. It's a crew parking sign, and it's so small, it's so minute, no one has ever seen it, not even Vrish saw it, but I saw it. And I was just staring at it.
You didn't notice it till you were sitting in the theater?
I didn't notice it till I was in the theater. And I just went, why
that doesn't matter.
Why the fuck is that there? And I saw it, and my stomach sank, and I got mad, and I can't tell you how, like, frustrated I was in that moment. And then after the theater, this is a perfect example of like, hey, did you guys see that little green sign? No, what are you talking about? And I would explain it to them. They're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I'm like, I guess that's good. Like, that in the sense, it's good that no one's picking up on these little things. But
no, those don't really matter that much. It's performance that matters. It's character, and performance, and story, like, that really matter. And if there's story elements or performance elements that were compromised, that stuff can really hurt. But a sign in the background, whatever. Nobody cares.
And it wasn't a full sign. You don't see it. It's like you just see a little bit of the green. I know, and you might not even, you won't see crew parking, but you'll just see a glimpse of like this green sign. But like, hey, why is there a green sign there? It's because they're making a movie and there's cast and crew there. You dumb idiot. I'm talking about myself,
I think
not you.
All directors, when they finish their movie and watch it, will only see their mistakes. They'll only see all the, compromises that were made. And for years, that's all you're going to see. Maybe like 6-7 years later, will you watch it and kind of just and actually appreciate the story. The rest of the time, as a filmmaker, you're just going to see the filmmaking blips that you weren't happy with.
Well, because like I've seen it so many times, I'm numb to it. I'm numb to the story. Do you know what I mean? Like I know the beats so much,
right.
and I've
you
been
have
through
to wait
editing.
6-7 years. And then you have to not watch it for a while. Then you come back and you just try to watch the story and you realize, who cares about a sign in the background? But listen, all directors experience that. Think of George Lucas making Star Wars, and he has this epic vision, and then you try to film it and it looks ridiculous and everything's heartbreaking. And at the end of the day, though, if the story cuts through and the performances cut through, like the filmmaking journey, that's part of it. It's a journey of heartbreak. It's a journey of heartbreak. And then by the time you screen it, it's like it can be such a wild experience because you've put your soul into something that now is going to be presented. You're presenting you.
Which is weird when you make thrillers and horror stuff, because you is a very violent internal person. And I had this weird realization when I was watching my own movie, and horrible things. I just want to spoil. I feel like at this point we still have like 9 viewers. So when Gordon reveals his true plan and stabs Teddy and the whole thing, I honestly had this thought of like, that's pretty fucked up. And you see the ball gag scene, and I remember how much snot, like the actor Michael was really struggling with the ball gag, and it looked so good on camera, and it looked so real when he's pulling the ball. And for a second, I stopped watching something I made, and I went, oh, I was on for the ride. But again, then I had this thought, a lot of my friends and my family are here. Some of my family that like might not be into thrillers or horror films were there. And then I'm just thinking, am I upsetting all of these people? Am I upsetting all of these good folks that don't know what they're getting into because they think it's just this mystery and they might? And I'm like, it gets pretty fucked up by the end. So, I mean, I don't know. Some of them might not appreciate the genre and genre elements. Not everyone likes our genre. It's a bit of a niche thing, I guess. I mean, it's very mainstream, I guess. But in my personal group of friends, a lot of people don't love watching like scary horror films. So who are you making this type of movie for? You're making it for who are you making it for? Are you making it for yourself? Are you making it for an audience? I think you always have to start with yourself, I find. And again, that's where I get these long conversations. But I made Chimera primarily for myself. Of course, I was dealing with in genre. It wasn't a slasher horror. It was more of like a mystery thriller with horror elements mixed in, kind of a thing. And that's what I wanted to do. I was more inspired by like Seven and Silence of the Lambs than say Friday the 13th for this, because that's where I was. Making a movie and having a premiere like that, like, is a statement that you finished a feature, your debut feature film. I'm officially a filmmaker as of this day forward. Yeah, I mean, like making a film and getting it, getting it programmed into a festival and having it premiere and being on that journey is what separates the dreamers from the filmmakers, the aspiring filmmakers from the actual like directors. It's like, congratulations, you have made something and released it into the world, and that's what separates the dreamers from the filmmakers. And so I think, that's a huge achievement. So I appreciate that. Congratulations on achieving, your goal of directing a feature film and getting it out there. It's, for people that are listening that maybe aspire to do it, it's a painful, long journey. It can be. And it does feel like climbing a mountain. And if you've made shorts, you make a couple shorts that are like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. You make a couple shorts. A feature's a different thing. It's stamina. That's what I think of a feature. Stamina. You can't give up because the days are long. But the shoot's not even the end of it. Like, I'll be honest, I think the most exhausting portion for me anyway is probably post-production, because holy shit, can things just get elongated, and hey, things can just get pushed and pushed and pushed, and it drives you nuts. Well, to me, filmmaking and directing is editing. It's like you capture what you capture in that very small window of time where you're in principal photography, but the edit is where the movie's made, and all roads lead there. And it's like, that's where you can rewrite things, change things. You can do pickup shots and reshoots if needed. And, it's like, that's where the movie is made. And so every decision made while directing a movie, like whether it's, writing or directing it on location, trying to capture it, in camera, is, it's capturing elements needed for the edit. It's like protecting the edit. Yeah, I like that. Protecting the edit. That's interesting. I like that. Yeah, because you're like, you know what you're going to get, but it's like, how do we make this edit the smoothest possible? And that's why I like how I kind of make movies with my team, because Vrish and I, are very close collaborators. He edits everything we do, I direct everything we do, and we both usually write together. So it's an interesting dynamic where even in writing and we're discussing what we're going to be doing, we're thinking of it for the edit, which is really interesting. So it's a really interesting collaborative thing where it's like, as I'm envisioning shots with Rish, he's also thinking about how they're going to fit together. So it's like we're very in sync until we get to the edit. So it's a very like just boop, put it together kind of a thing, which is a really nice way of doing that. But I think you edit your own stuff a lot of the time, right?
I try to as much as I can. Sometimes
Yeah.
I can't based on schedule. Like if, it depends on what's happening, but I try to 100%. I prefer to edit my own work.
Mm-hmm.
I do like working with editors that can surprise me and do something different, but I like Robert Rodriguez said, why let the editor have all the fun? Filmmaking is in the edit. I just love the edit. I also, though, can get lost in it too. I'm dealing with something right now that I've been editing for like too long, and I'd love to pass it off to somebody because I'm spinning my wheels with it. So it depends on what it is.
For sure.
My problem is that I do visual effects as well. So if I'm editing something and I need a shot, I'll like just start making the shot as a visual effect in After Effects or something, and I'll go down that rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing I know, months have gone by, and it's like, okay, I should probably pass this off. I'm having too much fun with this. This needs to get done.
I could just go in a circle of, yeah, I totally get it. Just revision after revision. You're like, hey, it'll never get done.
How did you feel the morning after the premiere?
Pretty hungover. My stomach hurt. I was
Emotionally, how'd you feel?
It was weird. We were talking a bit about this earlier, but it's like it was such a high the night before of excitement. I was like, well, what next? Like, okay, so we did that. What next? And I kind of knew I was going to feel like that because I knew how much excitement I was feeling and how much we were building up to this final world premiere, which really was exciting and such a wonderful experience. But then after, it's like, well, what next? And I don't know. I don't think I'm one to rest on my laurels. I don't think filmmakers generally should be, because it's kind of like, and you said it earlier too, it's kind of like you get like in this weird depressive state of like, I'm done now. Now what does life have to offer? And well, what life have to offer for me was, let's make another film right away. So we've already spoken about this, but for the next morning, literally it was, hey, that was great. You kind of decompress, you kind of think about what went right, how the movie played, whatever. But then I was just like, okay, what's next? And I just got very motivated to just make our next short film.
I get the same feeling after wrapping a production, after shooting. There's like this depression, there's a way, because it is like a roller coaster of highs and lows, and it feels like you're on this ride, and then it comes to a screeching halt. And there's a group of people that I make movies with who all feel this way. When we're done, there's this like, oh, not depression. That's too dark of a word, but there's a real low that happens where you're like, oh God, there's an emptiness after this journey. Premieres sort of the same way to me. Like I always have felt, like I sort of learned this a long time ago. I've always felt like once the movie's finished, it's edited and it's delivered and the DCP is made and I'm shipping it off to festivals, that movie's dead to me. This is the lesson that I would want to pass on to young filmmakers. Literally, the movie's dead to me creatively. There's nothing, I just mentioned this earlier, but I want to like hit this point home. There's nothing it can do for you creatively except suck you in to celebrating yourself at parties and like getting sucked into some sort of like, yeah, bullshit, self-congratulatory, stuff where that's not going to serve you creatively in any way whatsoever. It's just a big distraction. And you're looking for reviews and you're looking for validation. Like,
yes.
Did I make something good? And like all that, it can be very like depressing.
That's a great
and toxic.
Point. Is looking for validation after your movie's done, because I've had moments too where I'm like, hey guys, give us reviews, and then I spent like 2 or 3 hours just trying to find other people's thoughts, and I'm like, look, of course I want Chimera to be received well, but is that really my best focus of attention? Like, is that really where I should be focusing, or should I be utilizing, again, you do want to know what's working, what's not working, of course, but don't be so caught up on that. Take what you have and go make something else. I think that's a good point that I never really thought about so much for, is that when you're done, now you're just looking for validation.
Well,
and that it's just stroking your ego at that point. And again, everyone wants to feel great, but I'd rather make something. You know what I mean? And you have to really make sure you're not that egotistical, I made a movie, now forever talk about it. It's just like, let it do its thing,
Yeah, if your goal is to like go to a lot of cool parties and like, hang out with people, like that's fine. But if your goal is to like write interesting movies and be a creator and a professional working director, then it's like the movie has been released. It can do nothing for you creatively in terms of developing the next thing. So like you're right. It's like, when you do a premiere like that, you should have something in mind, as the next project, or already be working on it if possible. Like this is something like I always try to have something I'm deeply involved in, as the next project. So when I'm at the film festival, I can just sit there and I can just sit at a premiere and I can feel the vibe. It's what's really great is if you get into a few festivals, and if you get into a few festivals in different countries, and you go and you can feel the energy in the room in different cultures. That's interesting because then you're kind of like absorbing the lessons, that this premiere is teaching you about your relationship to the audience with the story. And it's really like a valuable thing that you can apply to the next thing, but it still doesn't help you creatively develop the next story. It just helps you kind of refine things. And like some lessons I've learned is like, do test screenings properly. Do proper test screenings with an audience of people that are not related to you in any way whatsoever, that are not friends or people that are warm to you.
Well, here's
Do
a
it
good
with
question
strangers.
for you. How would you actually get that? How would you get a group of people that you don't know to watch your film? And again, this is keeping in mind for a more independent approach. Like, I didn't have the money to pay 50, 100 people in a theater to watch my movie. I only had...
You got to set it up somehow. Like, in a perfect world, you're working with a studio or a producer that can help set it up. I know Obsession, when they made their film, they did test screenings, and they set it up themselves, and they had cue cards or like they had cards people filled out with all information. They learned a lot of lessons from that, and then they went and did reshoots, and they changed the Bear characters' intentions a little bit. They added some scenes based on a few notes they got through test screenings that they set up themselves. And I think they set it up through their agency, UTA, I think gave them access to it. They gave them access to a screening room, but then they went and organized it themselves. I just think as a director, if you're putting something out, do whatever you have to do to make it happen. Spend a couple $100s to rent a little theater and find people online, put together, hey, want to come to a free movie? Da, da, da. I don't know. I think it's the most valuable thing you can do if it's going to make your movie better. Instead of sitting there and learning in a room what's working, what's not working, the movie's locked.
Yeah.
And now you can't go back, And so I just feel like once it's out there, it can do nothing for me. And I'm just trying to take the lessons I'm learning from the experience of sitting in that theater and apply those to the next project that hopefully I've already set up or am setting up. And those parties that you're at, you should. I always want to be in a place where the next day, the weeks after these types of premieres, I don't care what the reviews say. I try. I mean, you're gonna care. You can't not care.
That's the thing. It's so easy to be like, I don't care, but when you get a half star, fuck.
Well, for sure, but if you have another project lined up that you're gearing up for, you're emotionally caught up in a new thing. Like it's in the past, and you don't want to live in the past ever. And you don't really want to obsess about the future because you're going to have anxiety. But you should be working actively in the moment on something else. Where if reviews come in, if they're not like exactly what you want or whatever, or even if they're high praise, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You should just be focused on the next thing emotionally.
Funny? Are you a Rush fan by any chance? And this ties back into what we're saying.
Not particularly, but I enjoy them.
So Neil Peart, the drummer of Rush, savant, one of the greatest drummers who's ever lived, he said, I can't listen to the bad reviews because then I'd start having to believe the good reviews. So he would literally not care about reviews at all. He goes, I can't listen to the good or the bad because then they coincide. And I kind of like that mindset, that mantra, because it's just like, and it ties into what you just said too, because if you don't have another thing lined up, if you don't have another thing that's emotionally grabbing you, okay, we're doing that next, you're going to obsess over things you can't control. And that's going to destroy you. And I've had little instances like that years ago, even with Lure or my other Ripples, where I'm on YouTube looking at all the comments. I hope everyone liked it. And you're obsessing over shit you can't control when you can control your next project. And that's where your energy is best fit for. And I think that's, just talking to you, it's a nice common kind of moment because it's like I'm realizing one thing that I did, I think, effectively, was I didn't put all my cards or all my eggs in one basket in the sense of, okay, it's just Chimera nothing. It's like, no, now I'm making a short. I have another feature done. And I'm actively, my mind is pulled in two different directions where, again, it's not that I've given up on Chimera. I'm not as invested or whatever. I am. But I have other things I want to do, having learned from Chimera. And I think some filmmakers I've spoken to aren't able to do that or haven't done yet. And I would say that's the biggest lesson I've learned here is definitely have your next thing going. And again, it doesn't have to be a feature. Maybe feature to feature is way too much and you don't have the money. Just make a 2 to 5 minute short film, just something to get your engines going. Keep that momentum going. Because all those favors and all those people you just met on the feature, they'll probably help you out on the short too. It's good momentum building, and it really makes you not so beholden to things online that you can't control. Because I think that's the main thing.
You want a feature script, though, too. It's like, what's the feature idea that you're excited about moving on to, and are preparing to write or are writing or have written. Making a short's a great way to like keep your creative spirit alive and to stay active and to stay, you know, in the game in terms of like festivals and that sort of thing. But what's the feature script? Even if it's just an idea or something you're working out, as you should just be excited about the next thing. You know, it doesn't have to be done, or you don't have to be directing it immediately after, but have one thing you're excited about that you're invested in emotionally, so you're not so emotionally invested in all the reviews and all the praise and all the stuff that's coming from this like thing that's now in the past. It's like going back to the child analogy. It's like if you're making a movie, you're raising a child into an adult, and the premiere is you releasing an adult, an 18-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 25-year-old child into the universe. Now you can't go back and move in with that adult and hold their hand through life and think you're going to change them. You did your job to produce that being and to raise it right. You did that work already, and now you have to release it, and you have to live or die by the product you've released into the world, and that's all you can do. Go make another child.
That should be on a poster. Can that be they should sell that hang that up in preschools and something like that. Just parents, wow, that really makes me realize I can't raise a shitty kid.
Well, your job is in the raising of it, and it's in the writing. It's in the you've made those decisions, and whatever is produced is what it is. You can't really micromanage that thing after it's out, and so
fuck. I really wish I could.
Well, of course, but that's not the job. Your job isn't to obsess over one thing forever. Your job is to have a body of work, and when you release a film and you've made your first film and you have your premiere, it's the beginning of a career. It's not the career. It's not like, here I am, I made one movie, and now I'm here. It's like it's the first cog in a wheel. It's the first step in a sequence of steps that become a career.
It's like 90% of filmmakers, again, this could be complete horseshit. I saw this online at some point in my life. 90% of filmmakers never make a film after their first feature. And I'm like, if that is true, it kind of makes sense, because it's such a daunting task. And it's not like you're going to just instantly make $1 million right after or whatever. It really is, like you just said, creating a career in the sense of this is your foundation, build from it. What have you learned? How do you evolve? How do you make something better? Because now my mindset is, and again, and I want to say this, I'm very proud of Chimera, and I do like Chimera. I really do. I feel like I'm very blessed to actually like my first movie. Again, I don't think it's perfect, and there's things I wish I could change, but that's with everything. But my mindset now is Chimera hypothetically should be the worst thing I make in my life.
The actors were so pleased. You could tell they were so happy with the final product.
That makes me feel great. Not gonna lie, what you just said, that might be my biggest compliment, because they worked so hard and they deserve to be rewarded in some sense.
Yeah, they're all great in the movie, and they seemed genuinely excited to be there. The Q&A was exciting. It was fun. You were awesome in the Q&A and super engaging and so what happens now with the movie? Like, what are you doing with it now? I know you're trying to get into more film festivals, and you're still in that game right now of like submitting, and you're using Film Freeway and getting letters back and submitting
the whole thing.
Are you talking to distributors? Like, where are you at?
So, great question. So right now we obviously just held our world premiere at Oakville. We have, I don't have it right in front of me, but I'm not going to pull up Drive in front of me. But we have another dozen festivals we're waiting to hear back from, updating them on the success of our first screening. You definitely want to highlight that we had a sold out screening, that we were runner-up People's Choice Award. So just reaffirming these successes for our film and just poking them. And we've gotten great responses back from the festivals. But again, you're just waiting for the notification date. Like, there's nothing you can do until they reach out to you. So I have a really good feeling. I know the film is good. I know that a lot of people want to see it. So knock on wood, I believe we'll have another few good festival showings, which I'm really excited for, and that's going to take us hopefully to the end of the year.
But the strategy is to play the festival circuit as much as you can to lead eventually to a distribution opportunity of some kind.
And so we have a sales agent attached currently, and we've received just our second offer as of last week, actually.
Distribution's a tricky thing. It's very tricky to navigate that. There's a lot of predatory companies out there. I guess with my first feature, I worked with a company. I sort of worked with a company to handle it, who have produced and released a bunch of movies in the past. It was a kind of a partner with us, so I kind of
Making Monsters, right?
Yeah, I let them handle the sale of it, and we ended up selling it to Amazon and Tubi. Carved was a Hulu original, so we had distribution out of the gates because it was developed in-house.
So that was all lined up for you, right? That was just like, we're making this movie and we know exactly where it's going to land upon.
Well, it was developed in the studio system through under the Disney company with Hulu, and it was Fox originally, and then Hulu. but it was a studio project from the get-go. So that was an original done within the system. So it's a very different thing.
And so
That's
how did
just
that work when that was completed? Did that go straight to streaming, or did you have a world premiere? Like, how did that work for you guys?
our timing was tricky because we were premiering because it was a Halloween movie. Like it's
Mhm.
about a pumpkin, right? So we were premiering. So this had to be on Hulu by October 20th. So it was right. It was like so it was tough for festival deadlines because we finished the film like a couple weeks before delivering it because we only had 3 months or 3.5 months for all of post production to deliver the movie to Hulu. So
Stressing you out.
the only film festival that we could really apply to was Scream Fest. So we had a world premiere
Okay.
at Scream Fest in LA, and that was
How was
fun.
that? Yeah.
It was amazing. It was amazing because you're in
Good show, because we've thought about Screamfest ourselves. Good show they put on.
Yeah. It's great. You're in this massive theater, and you're right in Hollywood, so it's super fun because you get to your whole crew. Our most of our crew was from LA because we shot in Kentucky, and
Well, that's
because
cool.
it's an American production, right? It was done through the studio, so all our main crew is all in LA, so it was great because they all got to come. Like
Mhm.
our heads of departments, like our DP and all of our producers, they're all in LA. So it was a great place to world premiere because everyone could come. And then also you're just in Hollywood. So for me to go down there and stay down there for a few days and just enjoy the town. I really like visiting LA. It was a good place to premiere. And then we premiered and then it was on Hulu like a day later or 2 days later.
It's kind of
Like
exciting, though, I guess, to like have your big moment, and then it's actually being seen by the general public. That must be a kind of an interesting way to release a film, because it's completely different with Chimera, because people have seen it, but now no one can see it until we have another screening. So it must kind of feel a bit more cathartic to actually have, hey, we have our big world premiere, and then we have it actually released to everyone who wants
yeah,
to
and
watch it.
and what's cool about doing it through Hulu and through Disney is that they have a massive marketing department. So they had massive billboards on Sunset Boulevard
That would be so cool.
of the film, and then on the Beverly Center, so driving around, you're driving around and like there's your movie poster and it's on the side of a building, and we're all taking pictures, and we had this amazing wrap party or party after the screening, and it's just it was epic. Our world premiere of Carved was pretty epic. Making Monsters, we world premiered at Toronto After Dark, and that was great too because our whole team there was in Toronto. So it was like, it was great to premiere there. But yeah, it's even with Carved though, even then I'm just you're trying to enjoy it. You're trying to
Mhm.
enjoy the experience, but then it's really just like, okay, what's next? And then in my position, like I work professionally as a filmmaker. So for me, it's not only what's next creatively, it's
Mhm.
what's next. What's my next move? From a job perspective, what's my next
Mhm.
paycheck?
Mhm.
And I make money doing this. So for me, it's always coming out of it going, okay, what's what's my next job? And then what's my next passion project for myself? And sometimes the job is like a film where I'm directing a second unit or something. So after Carved, we did Ice Cream Man with Eli,
Mhm.
and we
Which is coming out.
yeah, and then what's crazy about Carved is that we it was Ice Cream Man, and then we did Whistle as well. So I'm kind of like I'm able to jump into other productions that aren't necessarily mine, or it's another director at the helm. I'm the second unit director. I'm
Mhm.
helping, like but I'm still in it, and then on the side trying to develop my own projects as well. So
Mhm.
it's always coming out of these premieres and these situations like, okay, what's my next paycheck job, and what's my next film for myself? And so I'm very focused on like those things. So the premiere is just like I said, I'm going to celebrate a dead thing to me. And there was a
Because
couple like
you had that
musical
one comedian actor, and I forgot his name, but he's kind of like the stoner kind of character. Yeah,
Maddie Carter-Ripple, and
yeah. I feel like he would have. Did you allow him to ad lib and stuff
oh
like
yeah,
that?
he would just go and give us like 10 options, 15
Yeah.
options. Same with Chris Elliott, he would go and give us options. Jonah Lee's also, he was hilarious and would do he would just improvise certain lines where in the edit we're like, okay, geez, do we go with this one? Then we'd sort of try it, and then watching it, you're like, oh, do we make the right choice with that particular
Yeah,
joke?
yeah.
Because and then some of them are they land perfectly, and some don't land at all, and you're like, okay, that didn't work. But I'm not heartbroken. I'm just like, it's dead. You got to protect your mental health with this.
Yeah.
like it's, that's why I think I'll never ever 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 make a film ever again and not do extensive test screenings with
Okay.
strangers. I will never do it because of my experience of sitting in a world premiere going, ah, damn, this one thing didn't work or that didn't work, and it's like, and then you listen to these other, like Eli Roth he always has test screenings. When we did Thanksgiving, for example, we shot Thanksgiving. I was the second unit director on that, and then went and did test screenings for that film, and that the test screenings, they came back with some really valuable intel about certain storylines, especially storylines involving like these detectives, and people wanted a little bit more sort of like suspense and stalk and slash sequences involving certain characters. Like, so this feedback came in, and you can see if it's consistent. You're like, okay, well, this hasn't been released yet. This is interesting feedback. Do we want to address any of this? Like, do we want to go back and pick up a couple things? So we did. We went and did a few days where we picked up some inserts, and then we were able to cut those in, and I got to see firsthand like how you can pivot a bit, because the movie, I don't think there's any value in being super precious about like your movie, if you're showing it to people and there's a consistent feedback to a certain element of the film. It might be worth considering, making adjustments or changing and pivoting. Obsession did it, like, as we just talked about. We couldn't do it on Carved because we just didn't have the time. And I just will never do it again. On Making Monsters, the same thing. Like there was, I wish I had spent more time just doing it. But there was, when I did that movie, there was probably a bit of maybe arrogance of like, I wanted to make it for me. This is specifically for me. I don't really care what people think. I'm making it for me first, and then this is exactly a statement I want to make about scary films, about scary content. These are my personal fear, and it was very like, I just wanted to make something that was original, that was not pandering to a certain like demo. It was just 100% for me. But I wonder if I had just done some test screenings, would it be a better movie? I don't know. But I do know that I'll never make another movie again without considering audience feedback and then taking the note behind the notes and saying like, hey, is there any value in going back for a day or two and doing inserts and pickups or adjustments? Because just because you've written it a certain way and captured a certain way doesn't mean that's the best version of the movie.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't matter. You could come out of it with a better film if you just did some test screenings.
And the way we did Chimera, like I said, is we didn't have the full extent of test screens, but we did our own version of them, like I said. So the biggest change we made to our edit based on those screenings, and we showed like my aunt, my uncle, like my cousins, and people that like were associated with me family, so I know there might be a hint of bias there, but I said, tell it to me as is. So, and there was a common thread, and this common thread of a note everyone was saying, and I was almost in denial for like, I was like, we can't cut all that out. And everyone just said, yeah, at about this minute, it kind of lags. This little sequence, these 3 scenes in a row, they're just not working. And it was, so I called Vrish at like 3 a.m. I'm like, we have to fucking cut this scene. Like, it's not working. The next day, we retooled the entire thing. I got Delaney back to do the ADR. And I'm not even joking. I think that's the biggest decision I made in editing that made the movie overall a great experience, is that we made the pacing work. We cut the big thing I didn't want to cut, and that's the classics phrasing of you got to kill your baby sometimes when you're editing, because that decision, frankly, I think took too long to make. We should have made that a while before, but I'm so happy we made it. That's probably one of my favorite decisions I made, was focusing so much on the pacing and making sure that the movie just flows well and is still understandable. But that was the biggest thing I learned.
Yeah, as a director, you're making the movie and you've made something, but when you premiere it to an audience, the audience tells you what movie you actually made.
Yeah, exactly. To anyone that kind of made my premiere, if anyone's watching this who has seen Chimera or was at the premiere, thank you for being there. And if you're from Oakville, thank you, Oakville, for giving us a great show. It really meant a lot. And I'm excited to bring Chimera to a lot more festivals and show you guys what we did. But at the same time, working on other things, because that's, I think, the main kind of unique point that we're trying to say today, is that while it's exciting and you've made something great, and I'm very proud of it, I'm actively working on this short film that we'll be doing at the end of the month. And you always want to make sure you have something else going on, because don't rest on your laurels. I think that's what we've been trying to say. So thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening, everybody. See you on the next one.